Cameras have a lot of brains and technology in them. Nowadays, most cameras are able to shoot photos and videos and have a lot of features and settings, modes and buttons and dials. There's so many that sometimes it can feel overwhelming. In this video, I'm going to show you some simple settings you can change that you may not have thought of or even known about. So you don't have to be overwhelmed with all the buttons and dials and modes and settings, trying to figure it all out. I got you. Nobody likes notifications, am I right? My phone has been on silence since I got a phone. So why not silence your camera? You can do this with almost any camera. If you don't want that shutter sound, then you can go in your menu and turn on silent shutter. If your camera has other sounds that you don't want to hear when you're shooting, you can disable those too. Now go into your menu and go to silent shutter. Now with this enabled, you will hear a shutter sound every time you shoot off a photo. It's going to be that clicking noise. So if you want to be a little quieter, you can disable this function, and now whenever you shoot, it's going to be quiet. This is great if you just want to snap away without hearing that camera shutter every time you shoot in a crowd of people. You know those people that have their countdown timer beeping on their camera while everyone is looking at them, giving them those awkward looks? For wildlife photography, if you're out trying to get a shot of some furry critters, any noises could mean that you lose the shot. That shutter click could spook your subject and you'd miss the shot, with your furry little friends scurrying off and not coming back for another hour. So if you're into nature and wildlife photography, or you want to be more discreet in public, you'll want to turn your sounds off. For manual focusing on your camera, this will show up where your camera's focus is with a color that you can choose in your settings. This makes focusing a lot faster, and in instances where your autofocus isn't grabbing what you want to be in focus, then you can turn this on and snap a sharp image. If it's too dark for your autofocus, or if the image is a bit more busy, your camera can't decide on what it's focusing on, then this will help laser in on that focus. Just go to your autofocus settings, go to your manual focus peaking settings. You can turn that on, and then you can pick which color you want it to be. And you have to switch your lens to manual. There you can see the focus changing. You have the foreground, which is this tree. You have that next tree there, and then moving out. You change the color to be yellow. But you could also change this to be blue as well. There's 3 colors you can choose from on most cameras, I believe. Foreground here, that next tree, and then the background. I think in the evening, blue is a little harder to tell. I would go with a yellow or red. Red seems to be the easiest to see. Yellow is a bit harder in the sunlight. For me, red seems to be the easiest, but you can pick whichever color. Shout out to the sponsor of today's video. Dude, you don't have a sponsor. Oh. Now a lot of times when I'm out shooting, I'll be changing this setting a lot. If I'm shooting landscapes and then switch it to a fixed point, when I'm shooting moving subjects, I'll switch to tracking. And for people, animals, or anything that will be moving as you take the picture, the setting will keep your focus locked on. Then I can adjust where I'm focusing by using the screen on my USR and tap and drag my focus where I want it. So go to your autofocus settings and your touch and drag autofocus. We're gonna put this to the top right corner. So whenever you are shooting, you can just use this top right corner with your thumb, which is going to be the most comfortable when you've got this up shooting, you're using the viewfinder. You can just set your focus point here with your thumb. There are a few more modes in there that you can use whether you're shooting wide landscapes or getting smaller detailed shots, but the focus tracking and the fixed point are the 2 main ones that I'll use for most of my shooting. Did you know that you can custom file name your photos? Check this out. Now if you're just the casual photographer, you probably don't need to set the custom file names on your photos, but you would use this if you're selling your images or shooting with other photographers. It makes sorting out the photos later so much easier. Alright, so let's go into the camera menu and I'll show you. Here in the menu, go to your file naming, and you actually have a few different options here. This is going to give you the option of using the preset file name, or you can set your own user setting, whether you want it to be your name or initials. So when you upload your pictures on your computer, it will show this in the file name of the image. And these settings will just make it easier for you when you're sorting out your pictures later. If you care to have the files on your camera with names or initials on them, you can set that as well. Customizing your button functions can speed up your shooting workflow and is essential for efficiency while you're shooting. And I like to be efficient. Knowing how to use your camera and become proficient in your craft is important to be able to get that shot. You can set different buttons and dials to operate different functions. And I have my dials set up so I can adjust my shutter speed, aperture, and ISO quickly so I don't miss a shot. And you can set these adjustments to be the control ring on your lens too. Alright, let's get into the menu and I'll show you how to customize your buttons, switches, and dials. Back in the menu, and I'm going to customize buttons and dials. Here in my dials, I have the first one set to my aperture, and then the next one here on top I have set to my shutter speed. Then when I have pressed the shutter button, I have the ring on the front, the control ring, set to my ISO. And this just makes it an easy layout for when I'm shooting. It's real comfortable to adjust each of those settings. So that is how I have mine set up. And then really handy with the control ring, I can just half press the shutter. That is a really cool feature of this Canon lens. Find out what settings you can change to make your camera easier and more efficient to use. There are a lot of settings on cameras to help us capture pictures, so let me know what settings you didn't know about, or what your favorite setting is on your camera. By understanding and implementing these settings that we covered in this video, you'll have the tools to unlock your creativity and improve your workflow. Don't be afraid to experiment, try different settings and techniques to find what works best for your unique style. Keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep shooting. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next video.